Hello, my name's Graeme Elliott. I work for the New Zealand Department of Conservation and I undertake research on pest animal control. I'm sorry about the cryptic title to my talk. It was made up by one of my colleagues. I'm not going to explain it, you can figure it out as I go along. We've recently found in New Zealand that we can increase the efficiency of our invasive animal control and reduce its costs if we undertake the pest animal control in pulses rather than doing it continuously, and especially if we do these pulses coincidentally with the heavy flowering and seeding of some of our main forest trees. Now this probably doesn't make much sense, so I'll elaborate a bit on it. But I'm going to start off just saying where we are. So I'm talking about New Zealand, 2,000 kilometres to the east, and I really only put this picture in so that I could put in this one, which is how New Zealanders think of New Zealand and Australia. Okay, but before New Zealand was settled, it was a land of forests and birds. 85% of the land area was covered in forest, and we had about 130 species of land and freshwater birds. That's not all 130 of them. And we only had 3 mammals, bats. Since the arrival of humans about 1,000 years ago, we have cleared 70% of the forests. We've introduced 10 predatory mammals, those ones up there, dogs, cats, rats, mustelets and possums, and a whole pile of ungulates as well. And because of that, we've lost 36% of the land and freshwater birds. They're extinct, most of them are endemic, and of the survivors, 44% of them are threatened. So nearly all the remaining forest is in protected areas, and forest destruction's largely stopped in New Zealand. But nearly all of our native forest animals are still declining, and that's because of the invasive animals. It's a little more complicated. Now, 2/3 of the forests that remain in New Zealand are dominated by 5 species of southern beech. And these trees are significant because they don't flower and seed every year. They're mast seeders. They seed and flower once every 3 or 4 years. And this has a big effect on the predators in the forest. So every 3 or 4 years a beech tree flowers. This is a mountain beech flowering. They're insignificant flowers, but they produce millions of small seeds. And these seeds are fed upon by mice and rats. Remember, these mice and rats are invasive animals, and their numbers skyrocket during the years when there's a lot of seed around. And the rats and mice are fed upon by stoats and other introduced animals, and during the years when the beech trees seed, the stoat numbers go through the roof. So in those years, the rats and the stoats prey upon our forest birds, and I've just picked one example of a little fellow called a moorboard. So if you're worried about predation on forest animals and forest birds, you need to control the predators, particularly in the years when the beech trees are seeding. So in 2014, we had a heavy seed fall throughout the beech forest of New Zealand, so that's where the beech forests were, and in response to this, my department's decided we're going to undertake pest control on a large scale over 12% of New Zealand's forest. And that's 700,000 hectares, which is big for us. We've never done pest control on that scale before. It's usually been about 150,000 hectares max. The tool we're using is sodium fluoroacetate 1080, which we're applying from the air. So the way we do is we put the 1080 in cereal baits, and it's dropped from the air using helicopters in these big buckets. The 1080s are very effective at killing rodents and possums, and because the stoats prey on or eat the dying and dead rodents and possums, you also kill all the stoats. Now there's some public opposition to its use, as you can imagine, sowing poison from the air, and our biggest problems are actually public relations problems. The technical ones are relatively easy to deal with. Now this is just to show you how it's worked. So this is a trace of rat monitoring the black line through several years, and you can see in 2006 over here we had a big seed fall and the rat numbers started going through the roof. We dropped 1080 from the air in this site and the numbers plummeted down and stayed low thereafter, whereas in a neighbouring area which didn't treat, the rat numbers kept on going. And it decimated some bird populations in that area. That's all I've really got to say about it, but I'm not sure whether there's a take-home message for many other countries in this, because it's a rather unique situation in New Zealand where we've got this mass seeding driving this whole issue. But it does emphasise the point that if you're going to have to do long-term control of plants and animals, often cunning timing of the control can reap all sorts of conservation and economic benefits. Thanks.
Mr. Facilitator, I stand here as a traditional Māori of the iwi back where I come from, Tūhoi, in association to the land, Te Urewera. I stand and acknowledge my work colleague there, Graeme, as he talks about something that's dear to me, and that's the physical, spiritual aspects of the land that Graeme and I and other members of our organisation are trying to protect. But the point I want to make is the combination of Mātauranga Māori, that's traditional knowledge, and Western science, how they come together to combat the invasive species that are invading our lands. Kia ora.
Thank you.
Well, we couldn't have a better example of science-based conservation and engagement, or at least contact with the local communities. Thank you very much.